I'm a poker player, tournaments here and there for the past 10 years or so. I've gone through a tremendous learning curve and have had kind of a wow moment recently. And it kind of goes like this. There's a number of ways to win tournaments, especially depending on the level of the players in the tournament. If the level of players is weak, maybe some older guys that are just out to have fun and throw away their chips, there are a number of different ways to beat them. You can play really tight because they're going to be playing really loose, and you can wait for different positions at the table as the button moves around to re-raise them, to second bet them, triple bet them, fourth bet them, try and bluff them off hands. And there's different ways to slow play them when you get a big top pair or even trips or a flush or straight draw. On the complete reversal of that, if you're playing with what you feel is a group of pretty high caliber players based upon the way they play the first half hour to an hour, you can play tight, and you can perhaps mix in a couple loose plays depending on your position at the table and depending on what level you are in the tournament. Definitely look for the fishes at the table. You should be able to tell within the first half hour who's fishing for hands based upon whether they flat call, whether they seem to be playing every other hand or every third hand. As we know, we should be folding 80% to 90% of hands. So if you see people going in every other hand or every third hand, read the information at the table. Like the pros say, keep your headphones off. There's so much information going on at the table, it will blow your mind. Playing the small stack is an experience that will blow your mind. I recently had an experience that had me down to less than 3 blinds, and within a half hour, I was up to 20 blinds. By playing patient, waiting for specific opportunities to present themselves, such as going all in with ace 10 and watching some guy who I was hoping would go all in with an ace 9. I had pegged that guy earlier as a guy who was a bit of a fish, playing a lot of hands. I had position on him, so I thought I'd give this a shot, and he did exactly what I wanted him to do, which was quite satisfying. There's so many ways that a tournament morphs as the hours go on. It kind of morphs in different directions, and it's amazing how quickly you can regain your chip stack if you stay patient and you believe in the way time passes and forget about the fear of blinding out. You shouldn't have some tremendous fear of blinding out, and I'll tell you why. Let's say you get down to 5 blinds, 4 blinds, 3 blinds, and you start to debate with yourself, should I shove this ace 3? Should I shove this 10 jack offsuit? No, I don't think you should. I'm of the belief you should wait until you have just 1 or 2 big blinds to start shoving such hands like that. And what's the worst case scenario? You get down to being blinded out. You may still have a 30 or 40% chance of winning that specific hand. Now, granted, if there's more than 3 players ganged up on you to try and knock you out, that may be a little bit tougher. But if it's, you and 2 other players, you still may likely have a 20 or 30% chance of winning that hand, especially if you have a face card or some sort of suited connectors, or obviously a pair. Kind of the theme of what I'm saying here all comes back to patience I switched the subject to going to short stack. So let's talk about the opposite of that. Let's say you're medium stacked. Well, you're medium stacked, you're average stack, and you're in the middle of a tournament. You're not well below and you're not super high. You're kind of just average and you're doing okay. I'm a true believer of continuing to play tight, continuing to adjust your play depending on the type of players at your table. How are they behaving? Are they playing as tight as you? Are they playing loose? Are there a couple donks or fishes at the table that you could potentially capitalize on by going all in with pocket twos, knowing that they have some sort of habit of going all in with their ace jack or their ace nine? Don't ever forget the power of pocket pairs. It is hard to get a pocket pair. And recognize all the time how often people will go all in with an ace and a low card, or an ace 9 or ace 10. And if you get in a situation where you're up against an ace king or an ace queen, well, so be it. You got pocket twos, or you got pocket fours, or you got pocket sevens. You got a really good chance of winning that pot. Call it 45% or 50%. Call it a coin flip, fine. Depending on how large their stack is, depending on your position at the table. Your position at the table, you're reading the other players. You're checking your left before you check or bet. See if those 2 or 3 guys to the left of you are showing any body language that they're going to fold. If you see they're going to fold, try and take advantage of it. Put on a small raise. See what happens. Maybe you narrow down the table. Instead of having 2 other players to compete against, now you have 1 other player to compete against. Don't be afraid to check the turn, no matter what you have. If you check, oftentimes your opponent is going to check. There's a lot of chemistry going on at the table. To read the board texture after you check and to see the turn card, suddenly you got 4 cards to look at. And seeing those 4 cards can help you determine what your opponent may or may not have. These are things a lot of people at the table are not paying attention to, as much as you could be, as much as I could be. Read the texture of the board, pay attention to your position at the table, pay attention to how your opponent is playing their hand. Are they checking? Are they raising? Do they look confident? Did they check or raise pre-flop? Did they bet after the flop? Could they potentially be drawing a straight? The more that you try and figure out the range of what they could have, the more you may be in a better position to either bet on the turn or re-raise in case they do bet on the turn, assuming you feel you have the stronger hand. Assuming the texture of the board. Is it a dry board? Is it a wet board? If it's a wet board, you need to be more cautious. If it is a dry board, you're looking good. You got pocket jacks, or you have ace king, or you have queens. On the topic of slow playing, I think it really depends on the stage at which you're in a tournament. And again, your position at the table. And all these variables and the type of people that you're playing with. Are there a couple people that at the table that keep going all in? If there are, and suddenly you wake up with pocket kings, why not slow play it? Bet out a nominal raise. Not too much. Maybe twice the blinds, 3 times the blind, knowing that that guy is going to go, whoa, you're just betting that, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to try and come over the top with you. And when it does, you can call him because you're sitting there with the kings. Okay? Extremely helpful information. I'm going to stop here as kind of an episode 1 because it's gone 10 minutes, and we'll continue in episode 2.